live screenshots in everything.
What's good, you guys, and welcome on another episode. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing great. And if you are joining for the very first time, thank you so much for being here today. The ICJ ruling verdict came out yesterday, and this has sparked a conversation. They did confirm that South Africa did have a case because of all the evidence that they submitted against the blue and white country. And they as well confirmed that there is a potential genocide intent and that they will continue to investigate that case. A lot of people were talking about how South Africa won. They were happy that the judgment favored South Africa, but there were so many people as well saying no, because there was not a call for a ceasefire, which is one of the top things that people were expecting to happen. And this sparked a conversation. There are some people happy, there are some people saying no. There is no cause for jubilation because these people cannot do anything. It's just mere talks, increase the hope of people, and then they will end up not doing anything. Let's get right into some clips that I have been able to put together, and let's check out what the people are saying about this.
So if you missed it, about a half an hour ago, the ICJ released their ruling. And unfortunately, it is not what Palestinians were hoped for. There was not an outright declaration of a ceasefire. They also didn't grant the exact provisions South Africa asked for. But they were told to take every step necessary to not commit genocide and to allow as much humanitarian aid as possible to Palestinians. The court case actually started with the judge saying that the case does have merit, South Africa does have reason to bring the case, and Israel can be portrayed to be having done what South Africa accused them of. And so the only discrepancy here is that it's not exactly a win for Israel because the case wasn't thrown out, but it's not exactly a win for South Africa and the Palestinians because they weren't told that there has to be a ceasefire. It's a very diplomatic approach that
I'm so happy today. Today I have tears of joy in my eyes. The ICJ has legitimized South Africa's case against Israel's war crimes. You have no idea, for somebody who's been waiting all of their life for this to happen. Like, it's so good to see this happen. It's so good to see this happen. To see people being held accountable for their behavior, their actions.
In case you missed it, the ICJ has ruled that some of the evidence South Africa brought against Israel on claims of genocide are plausible. That's good news. Now that we all agree that the sky is blue, we can demand a ceasefire, right? Quite the opposite, actually, which is very bizarre because they sat there and read genocidal statements from Israeli government officials. They also talked about all the different things that Palestinians are going through, from starvation to being killed to being displaced, and then said, carry on killing and bombing, just tone it down, make sure you provide aid, and give us a report in a month to make sure that there are no genocidal things happening. They also ordered Israel to punish anyone who incites genocide, which is the biggest joke of the century because we know that's not going to happen. And currently right now, Palestinians in Khan Yunis are trying to evacuate for the 100th time. After watching the ruling, I got on Instagram and I was scrolling on Saleh's stories and I saw this photo and it completely broke my heart. All I could think was, how many times in this man's life has he been through this? And then I see this little boy and all I could think was, how many times is he gonna have to go through it? I don't know what I expected today, but what a disappointment.
They're probably just gonna say the International Court of Justice is colluding with Hamas. I said like an hour or two, but like, it's only been 40 minutes. And I hate being right. They're anti-Semitic now, and they denounce the decision made by the International Court of Justice. I called it. I gotta say record time, though, record time, but what the fuck? Oh my god. Okay, seriously, let's read this, though. The Israeli National Security Minister has denounced the International Court of Justice for issuing a series of provisional measures against Israel. They did not call for a ceasefire. They just said you need to check your shit, okay? Labeling the international body as anti-Semitic. The minister urges disregarding the court's decision, saying decisions that endanger the continued existence of the state of Israel must not be listened to. 40 minutes. That's all it took. I called it so quickly. And on that note, if they don't want to listen to it, then they just straight up denied getting their hostages back. So I guess we're going to see how that plays out. Literally 2 seconds before I hit upload on this video, Netanyahu came out and said the war in Gaza will continue. He has blatantly blocked the decision from the International Court of Justice.
As more and more opinions are coming out about the ICJ's ruling, it's important to kind of look at this from the different ways and see why people are saying these things. So, one, people are saying this is definitely not a win for Israel, because a win for Israel would have been this case is thrown out of the courts completely and they continue to do whatever they want without any scrutiny. Therefore, the court basically saying there is a potential of genocide having been committed or going to be committed, and outlining a lot of the rhetoric that Israeli officials have been saying is a positive thing in South Africa's favour. Other times, people are also saying, well, South Africa asked for a complete cessation of military activity. The ICJ's ruling didn't actually say that. Obviously, they're saying there should be no potential or actual genocidal actions taken by the Israeli military, but we know from the past 3 to 4 months and going back years, Israel will always try and justify what they're doing. So they'll kill 1,000 civilians and then try to justify that by saying, look, we got 2 Hamas members or something like that. So it's going to be very difficult to actually prove that, which is why I think South Africa originally were angling for complete cessation instead of them just being like, make sure, there's no targeting of civilians, there's no, goal to stop Palestinians reproducing, etc. And then things like stopping the genocidal rhetoric. Israel are meant to be the ones who are meant to be responsible for doing that. So, yes, it's good that the ICJ said, yes, there was potential genocidal rhetoric, but then also Israel have to be the ones who have to, condemn and punish that when they're not really. You see the British-Israeli ambassador being, trying to skirt around a lot of the things. He says, oh, well, X person who made said statement isn't actually making policy decisions, so it's fine for them to say that. That's the kind of way they're going to go about it. So it's like what I said in my previous video. It is a first step towards a first step. It's a first step towards ending the violence in Gaza, which in itself is a first step to a free Palestine.
South Africa won. The International Court of Justice just ordered Israel to stop committing acts of genocide. It's such a weird feeling because you don't want to be right about that, but at the same time, it is so powerful to actually have some recognition of what's happening and some legally binding orders to make them stop. I'll do a different video going through the detail of the order they made, but I just want to remind everyone that this doesn't mean the genocide case is over and that Israel's been found guilty. It just means that South Africa was successful in getting the court to place some temporary measures on Israel to get them to stop what they're doing because there's a plausible case of genocide happening. The International Court of Justice just ordered Israel to stop committing acts of genocide.
To all the people in her comment section asking, oh, why didn't they call for a ceasefire? Well, why didn't they call for a ceasefire? You spineless liberals, y'all weren't paying attention to that case. Y'all were not paying attention to that case. Palestine was not on trial. The people of Palestine were not on trial. The people suffering from a genocide were not on trial. That trial was not about whether or not a ceasefire was a morally correct thing to do. That trial was about whether or not Israel was committing acts of genocide, which they were, and they were found guilty of that. The court was not deciding whether or not a ceasefire should happen. Everyone knows that a ceasefire should happen. That court was about whether or not Israel was committing genocide, and they have just been found guilty in an international court of it. Don't ask for a ceasefire, ask for the end to genocide.
South Africa won. The International Court of Justice just ordered Israel to stop committing acts of genocide.
But this isn't the time to sit back and relax. They didn't call for an immediate ceasefire. They essentially said there's probable cause to believe that Israel is committing acts of genocide, and they have 30 days to come up with receipts showing and proving that they have dialed it back a little bit. They also have to allow humanitarian aid into Palestine, among a few other things. But the point is, Israel has a long history, as we know, of not giving a flying fuck about international law and abiding by international law. So I'm not going to say too much more. I don't want this little icon to pop up above my video. This is why y'all haven't been seeing any of my content the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to be very careful with my words and how long my videos are, etc. But I just wanted to come on here to say, do not take a backseat. We can't see a repeat of what happened when there was a 5-day ceasefire and people kind of, you know, toned it down a little bit and they're like, oh wow, this is amazing, what a win, what a great and amazing win. Let's sit in this small victory and just hope that things dramatically improve over the next couple of months. This is not the time. In fact, we need to ramp it up. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, the apps, TikTok, Instagram, that I'm not saying anything crazy, so there's no need to ban this video from the For You page, from the Explore. There's no need. I didn't even really say nothing. I just said let's ramp it up.
Breaking news, the ICJ has ruled in favor of South Africa and against the blue and white.
Let me preface what I'm about to say with, I mean no ill intent to the creator. He is doing his best to put out information, and for that I am eternally grateful. However, let's not sugarcoat things. The ICJ said there might be a G-slide. Might? Let me get this straight. With all of the evidence that was brought forward, and they couldn't have said, this is a G-slide. Ceasefire now, because they could have ordered a ceasefire. But no, they said that there might be a G-slide. Not to mention, do they really think that It's Not Real is going to listen to them? They already went on the record to say that they're not going to pay any attention to the verdict. So if the ICJ really thinks that they did anything by basically giving It's Not Real a slap on the wrist and saying, well, now you have to enforce emergency measures. I'm sorry. They already said they're not going to listen to you. You could have at least said, hey, ceasefire. But no, you didn't. You said that there might be a G-slide.
With its obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide.
I hope you see now that the institutions that exist are not the answer. That the institutions we rely on to do things because they're supposed to are never going to help anyone. Just like they didn't help anyone in World War II. That's why Israel is so confident. That's why America is so confident. Because the UN didn't do anything to stop Germany. And they're not going to do anything to stop Israel in the United States. Guess who has to do something? If you want to avert World War III, it has to be us. We have to stop cooperating with these institutions that do not see human lives as valuable, but only value money and power instead. The institutions themselves have got to go. They are functioning as they were intended to function. It's up to us.
The day is finally here. Today is Friday, January 26th, and we all have been waiting for the International Court of Justice to give us their verdict on South Africa's genocide case against Israel. But before I explain to you guys the verdict, I just want to go over a few points. A lot of us believe that this verdict could change the lives of the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza right now. But personally, I never thought that because as we have seen in the past, the UN has not done anything that they're supposed to do. And I feel like the ICJ is just another UN. I believe that the ICJ is very similar to the UN because it's controlled by the West. And I'm not expecting anything good coming out of it. But anyways, let me tell you what the verdicts were. So one of the verdicts the ICJ ordered Israel to do was for Israel to use all its powers to prevent anything that could lead to a genocide. And that includes the killing and destruction of Gaza. But I don't know how that works because Israel has not stopped doing that. And I don't know if they ever will. So the second verdict was for urgent humanitarian assistance. I don't know if that's going to happen either. If you look at all the verdicts, nowhere in here does it say ceasefire. Nothing. And that was the primary measures that South Africa asked for. At the end of the day, I am so proud of South Africa for speaking up for the Palestinian people and recognizing that there is a genocide going on, even though the West denies it.
What do you guys think about the ruling verdict? What do you think about, the people saying it's not a success because they didn't call for a ceasefire? Because according to one of the stitches, according to what one of the stitches said that I agreed to, was that it was all about, confirming if these particular blue and white people are committing what they have been accused of. And according to what these South Africans have submitted, they have been able to gather evidence to confirm that these people are committing what they have been accused of. So there are people happy saying, yeah, it's a good one, it's a win for South Africans, and it's not a win for Israel, it's not a win for the blue and white people. But the truth is, people want them to call for a ceasefire, and since it's not happening, it's not a win for any. Like, it's not a win for the blue and white, it's not a win for South Africans. The only thing that is a win is the fact that they have confirmed that these people are doing what they have been accused of doing. But these people know how to, serve the people crumbs. It's like they will move at a very snail pace and then accomplish their own end goal. We all know how, dirty all of these things are. But let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you guys think about the ruling verdict? What do you guys think about the people happy or saying that South Africa won? What do you guys thinking about the people who were expecting it to result into a ceasefire for the people of Palestine, for the people in Gaza? Let me hear your thoughts and let's continue this conversation in the comment section. Thank you all so much for joining. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe before you go and turn your bell notification on, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, and I love you guys.